Welcome back to Data Science News, where we do the hard manual work of researching the latest and greatest stories in the world of virtual reality, machine learning, big data, and artificial intelligence, so you don't have to do it. And with that, let's get started. Our first story deals with robots and companionship. If you're anything like me, you probably own a pet of some kind. And when you purchase this pet, unless you have a disability, you probably weren't thinking about what work the pet might be able to do for you. Sure, it might help you exercise or something, but more often than not, pets are purchased because we enjoy the companionship. They bring a certain amount of joy to our lives, even though many times they don't provide a tangible benefit, the way buying a washing machine does. Robots, on the other hand, we here in the United States tend to look at something that you purchase if you're looking to help with a certain task. For example, if you bought a Roomba, your primary motivation was probably because you didn't want to vacuum the floor, and thus the robot could help you do it. But what if in the future you were to buy machines not because of something they did, but for the same reason you would purchase a pet, as a thing that simply shared your house and acted like a companion? That's what marketers in Japan are hoping to convince you of with their new robot, Lovat. Lovat doesn't vacuum, clean, protect, calculate, or suggest anything. Lovat simply exists to be interacted with and to form a connection between you and itself. Empowered with cameras, sensors, thermal vision, and audio sensors, Lovat is designed to provide companionship much the way a dog would. It even has touch-sensitive skin to encourage petting and affection. Will these robots overtake real animals in the future? Who knows, but it does get you thinking about the possibility. Our next story explores the links between machine learning and poop. If you've ever seen the movie Bridesmaids, you know that salmonella poisoning can be one of the most unpleasant experiences imaginable, causing diarrhea, cramps, and in some extreme cases, even death. This normally happens because animals aren't toilet trained, and when they have salmonella bacteria in their intestines, their poop will also contain the bacteria, which means that any animal that steps in it, eats it, or otherwise is potentially infected. The most common animals to get infected and thereby spread the bacteria are animals that you and I would probably associate with farming, mostly cows, chickens, horses, and wild birds. Nearly 1.4 million people in the US suffer from a salmonella outbreak each year, with almost 450 of them dying as a result of the bacteria. To help prevent this, and to quickly determine the species of an animal spreading the bacteria, scientists are turning to machine learning. Using an algorithm developed at the University of Georgia, researchers have recently run tests where the algorithm was asked to identify 8 different strands of salmonella taken over the last 20 years. The results were promising, as the algorithm was able to correctly identify 7 of the 8 strands accurately. This could, in the coming years, provide a useful weapon to doctors and epidemiologists attempting to quickly identify the cause of an outbreak before it spreads. And no episode would be complete without our Cat vs. Technology video of the week. Our next deals with VR and space. When you're in space, a lot of things change, and I'm not just talking gravity, but your ability to perceive objects changes too. You see, when you're exposed to a microgravity environment, your vision takes a hit, and that can create a feeling that you're moving even when you're completely stationary. Now that can be tough even in the best of circumstances. Now imagine you have to control a robotic arm that will grab hold of cargo that will feed you for the next few weeks. Or let's say you have to prevent a piece of space debris from hitting your ship. Think you might want to have your vision working for you in those circumstances? You bet. And so do the people in charge of Vection. See, Vection is a virtual reality experience that is designed to simulate the effects of microgravity on astronauts before they go into space. Now, how does this work? Wearing head-mounted displays and virtual reality gear, astronauts are asked to complete a series of experiments to test their abilities when faced with specific challenges. These tests include moving toward disappearing objects, accurately calculating distance to destination, and determining the angle of an object in motion. By creating this virtual environment, Scientists are able to understand the errors in self-motion and distance perception facing astronauts and create ways to prepare them prior to going on a mission. Our final story deals with machine learning and aging. How many of us would like to fast forward the clock a bit and see how our health might be when we're 40, 50, or even older? For some of us, that idea is scary because we've seen our relatives, and let's face it, it's not pretty. For others, it might be interesting to find out what your health might look like. What if you could do that with somebody you were dating? You know, things are getting serious, and before you commit, you just want to put their DNA in a computer and get a quick idea of what their health prospects will be like at 70 years old. How many of us would be tempted to do that? Well, researchers at the Salk Institute are working on precisely that technology. Using RNA biomarkers taken from young to old patients and pairing it with machine learning algorithms, these researchers are identifying trends in cellular data that can determine the possibility of you suffering from a health issue at a particular age. For example, by looking at the skin tissue of 133 patients, they were able to identify patterns in the biomarkers that were consistent with individuals suffering from heart disease and dementia. Through further study, these researchers are hoping that doctors in the future can use this technology to provide patients with the insight into their future health. Well, that's our episode for this week. Hope you enjoyed it, and definitely check out some of the other videos and materials on the Super Data Science homepage. Catch you next time.